Hello, everybody, and welcome again to yet another episode of the Elite City Podcast. It's me, Mr. Blasco, back from the beach, and our friend from the Great White North, Mr. Rick. What's up?
Not much. Basically, the complete opposite of the beach, but otherwise good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's why this podcast is a little later than usual. My best buddy Brett got married to my second best buddy Steph, and it was an honor to be there. I just want to say thank you guys. I love you guys so much. It was fun. I mean, you made me leave my house and drive 10 hours, so you know you're special, and you now like owe me some pizza or something.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes, and that means you have to listen now because I'm not telling you that I said this, and you can text me a thank you later.
if they don't, then you know they're not listening to the podcast. If they just never mention it, then you're just like, wait a second, why are you not listening to my podcast?
Absolutely. And then they will owe me pizza. so that's gonna be that'll be the kicker. But since we were a little bit late, like I said, since I was out of town, we're just gonna go over Dynamite, which was last night. Tonight's Thursday. We're gonna go over last night's Dynamite, and we have a bunch to say because a lot happened. And
yeah, it was an interesting episode. It was like it wasn't. It didn't have like a lot of episodes of Dynamite have like, oh, they had so many classic matches. Like it didn't have any like outstanding matches. They were bad, but none of them were like
correct
incredible. But it was a good like story building, a good story building night.
Yes, it was. And a lot of people found out who Cole Carter was, even though he's been with the company for a while. We're going to get to that in a second, but I'm just going to say, poor kid. That's all I'm going to say. Poor kid. He got a little thrown to the wolves. But speaking of that, Darby Allin, Jay Lethal opens the show. And the last time we heard from Jay, he said he knew Darby Allin's true weakness. And he was going to show it to him. And they were going to be there. So he basically told us it was going to be a person. So it added a little bit of excitement to the match. Amazing match, what we're going to say. I thought it was very well done. And it totally set up the needed situation that they now have. And it was done very well. What were your thoughts just in general with like the build up? Do you think they overhyped it for what we got?
I don't think they overhyped it. I think I've mentioned this before in the podcast. I find it a little, not even like a negative. I find it a little odd that we get this much Jay Lethal all the time. Not anything against Jay Lethal. Like he's fine. But it kind of feels like he's on TV. He's like the only guy who's on TV every week and has a storyline all the time. And everyone else, even like, you know, the biggest champions have like a few weeks off where they're not around. But like Jay Lethal's always on. And it's a little, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just weird. It's just weird to me that Jay Lethal's on so much when like, you know, Bryan Danielson isn't on this much. Like when CM Punk was around, he wasn't on this much. I don't know. It's a little odd to me. But other than that, like the match itself was good.
I can see that. The more Jay Lethal for me, the better. I always thought he was underappreciated, and I'm glad he's getting his time in the spotlight. And I kind of think, I don't want to say that Tony Khan's doing that on purpose, but just a guy that kind of busted his butt on the Indies and then through Ring of Honor and then TNA, and just never was able to kind of shine. I think he's was given the ball and said run, and I think that's why we're seeing him all the time. But that's just totally my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that.
And well, just to say, the way this match started was it was amazing. Darby just jumped Jay. It was great. It was they hyped this up as personal as a fight, and I liked that it didn't start as a wrestling match.
Yeah,
I
I
liked,
always love when they do that.
yeah, it was amazing.
And again with the drops on the apron though, he took like I think a
Oh
German on the
yes,
right on the edge of the ring. Like, poor Darby.
with
Like I know he seems to not feel it, but like he's got to feel it. Like,
he has to.
come on.
He has to. Like he has to. Like that sucks. Like it, I don't know. I just don't want him to like. I mean, he's in his 20s or early 30s at the oldest. I just don't want a like Dynamite Kid situation where he's about to hit his prime and he's stuck in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I feel like
Like,
I am slightly worried that he's like, I know he like goes full out and like, I don't know if you heard that it was a recent interview with not interview, clip from Mick Foley's podcast where he was saying that like he has terrible short-term memory. Like one of the reasons that he says if WWE calls him back to do something, he doesn't do it because he said he can't remember promos that they give him. Like he just
oh wow,
if you give him a promo to read, he doesn't remember it. So like
wow,
Darby seems like he's heading down the Mick Foley path, and I probably
yes,
not with shots to the head because I don't think he like I mean he did got dropped on his head yesterday. But
right,
he's not taking like chair
right,
shots to the head like Mick Foley did because we know better than that now.
right, right.
But just the toll on your overall body must be maybe you don't notice it when you're 28 or however old Darby Allin is, but I
Right.
feel like you will notice it when you're 50.
You would have to because, like me and you always say, like I know sometimes, like I get out of bed and my knee just hurts for some
Yeah,
reason.
I hurt myself like raking leaves yesterday. Like,
Right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, like you get in the car wrong and you're like, oh man, this is gonna suck, and like he gets thrown off this like, and I know it's not every night, but still, like if if I slipped and fell in a wrestling ring,
right,
I would probably have to lay there for a minute, not willingly do it on my own.
right.
So yeah, like I mean, obviously he's in good shape and everything, but still, there's one thing about being a wrestler, and there's another thing about being a wrestler that does what he does, and it is entertaining, but
Definitely.
it, you feel bad because I mean he's literally giving the fans his body,
Right,
literally,
right.
because he's gonna pay for it later. Um. Anyways, Jay Lethal did eventually take control once they didn't, like I said, Darby jumped Jay, so they had a little uh, kind of fair fight because the belt didn't ring yet. So outside of the ring, the only part of this that I thought was hilarious is whenever Jay Lethal put the figure four on Darby when he was under the barrier. And Bryce Remsburg went over and made like the 5 count to break it, but the match hadn't started yet.
Yeah, like
So
as if that's the problem, right?
yes, like come on, you guys just fought in the crowd, but this is too far. um, well, let's just say talk about how nuts Darby is. Let's talk about the brick wall that Satnam Singh was that Darby ran into head first.
That was, and I'm not saying this to be offensive, that was like the coolest thing Satnam Singh has ever done.
I agree because he literally didn't budge
Right.
or put his hands up. He literally let a full grown man dive headfirst into him and just bounced off of it.
Yeah, that was quite the cool visual. That was really cool.
Yeah. And I'm so stoked that the crowd like popped for that
Right.
because normally they would like, it's a big guy. Oh, okay. People would be like, oh, well, Darby only weighs like 100 pounds.
Right.
Well, yeah, but he was running 100 miles an hour when he hit him.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not even like he caught him or pushed him out of the way. He just like stood there and let him hit him.
Yeah,
It
and
was really cool.
it was super cool. And then this led to, if you're a fan of the show, Rick, you called it. You said there was going to be a fake Sting
Yes,
incident.
fake Sting. It was kind of an awkward fake Sting, but it was still fake. It was still a fake Sting.
We're going to play taps for Cole Carter here in a minute because that they did him wrong. Like I could they literally picked the person that is on the roster that nobody would have known
Yeah,
instead of just like
if
an
commentary
extra.
didn't say that's Cole Carter, I would have no idea.
Right. I mean, I even kind of knew who Cole Carter is. I mean, he's been there for a while, but it just took me a minute. Like, you don't see, like, he's not even on Darker Elevation. Like, I haven't seen him in like 3 months.
Yeah. I'm
So
glad
it was
that
like,
the
who is that?
reveal turned out to be a second reveal, because
Which
if that was the old, I think they was parted on purpose that they had
exactly?
it
That's what I
happen
was
like
just gonna
that.
say.
Because
That's
if
what I was
that was
just.
the only reveal, like if that was the big
Oh,
surprise,
oh, that would
that,
have been terrible.
that I was just thinking, like, first they had the Satnam Singh reveal that everyone hated, and then they had
Yes.
this like Jay Lethal's thing is like disappointing surprises. Like,
That would be the greatest gimmick ever.
and every week you hype up a huge surprise, and it's like some guy no one's ever heard of.
Right. Right. Like, yeah, when Excalibur doesn't even know who you are. Like,
You hear him like rifling through his notes. That's
yeah.
hold on a second.
Yeah, he wrestled one time in West Newton, Pennsylvania at a fire hall. Like,
This is according to Wikipedia. I don't actually know who this is.
it, I definitely think it was done on purpose and done like that's the exact reaction they wanted to let the crowd down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I did text you definitely after we got the real reveal, which was that was more of a surprise than Cole Carter.
Yes.
I would have never guessed that we were going to see Jeff Jarrett.
No. There's no way. You could have had me pick 100 names, and I don't think I would have picked Jeff Jarrett.
Yes, I agree with you. First off, I forgot that he was a free agent. Like, literally, he was just working for WWE like
Right.
8 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But the swerve with Cole Carter, then Double J coming out. That was so well done.
It was really cool. And I think that the fact that you touched on the fact that the Cole Carter thing was such a dud made it even better.
Made it yeah, that like I said, I felt bad for Cole Carter because after I saw Double J, I was like, oh, they did that perfectly. But I felt bad for Cole Carter knowing that if it was on purpose, they literally had to sit down and say, okay, who's the least popular person on the roster?
And then they had to pitch it. They had to pitch it to him like that. Like, okay, we're gonna have you be the reveal. Nobody cares about you. Nobody knows who you are or cares. So, but that's part of it. We want somebody who will get zero reaction from the crowd.
Right. Now that if it's a Double J and Impact's involved, him and Bobby Fish can have a match on who's going to be the least well received individual.
Great.
Great stuff.
So what do you think's going to happen with Jeff Jarrett and like Double J? Is this sounds like it's like an invasion angle?
Yeah. I even wrote that down. Impact invasion, possibly. I mean, his job title basically says I should start an invasion angle because he's what's he like? He's director of company growth or something.
Yeah, like I think it's live event. Like he does
Live
event
events.
stuff.
That's what it is. That's so of course, like more people you have to pitch to venues, the better. So
yeah, that's my little nitpick on this. That like he's invading AEW as like an invasive force, but like clearly he works for the like we know he works for the company. Right. Tony Khan went out and told us. Right. I don't care. Like it doesn't matter to me. But it is a little weird that he would be like, this guy hates AEW, but he's also signed to AEW. Like, okay.
Yes. And just his wrestling mind is going to be just to have around, just for an opinion. Like his mind is very.
Yeah, I'm one of the people. I know Jeff Jarrett. If you read I don't know if you read any of the reaction online. Surprisingly, it was negative.
Yeah.
I might be one of the only people who really likes Jeff Jarrett. Like I really like Jeff Jarrett. I think he's a good like on screen. I think he's like a good character. I think he's a good. I like him.
He always kind of reminds me of like kind of like how we always say Christian. Like Double J just happened to be in like was a good worker, but just happened to be in the wrong era. Like
Right.
if he would have peaked in the late 90s instead of the early 90s, or no, I shouldn't say peaked. If he wouldn't have come to fame in the early 90s instead of the I keep saying that backwards. He was too early. That's what we're gonna
Yeah.
say.
He also
So
had very bad timing in terms of which company he worked for. Like he worked for
yes,
WWF when WCW was getting hot, and then
yes,
he left, and then WWF got hot, and then
yeah,
he left and went back to WWF, and then went back to WCW before it failed. He had terrible timing as to which company he was going to work for.
yeah. And I mean, I will give him credit. He stuck with. Well, did he start? Yeah, he started TNA, correct?
Yeah.
He started TNA, and then it was bought out eventually by the Impact Group or whoever they
Was
are.
eventually first it was bought out by Dixie Carter, and then it was bought out
Oh,
by
that's right.
the people who run it now.
That's right. I forgot Dixie Carter owned it.
Yeah.
And then whoever owns it now, but he still had something to do with it, correct?
For a while, yeah. Then he had this weird situation where he founded a company called Global Force Wrestling,
Oh, I didn't know that was his.
and then merged it with TNA. But there was no Global Force Wrestling. Like he merged a company that didn't exist,
Oh,
basically. Like merged a company that had no roster essentially with TNA. But then
okay.
they unmerged it, and he reformed a different. It was confusing, but
I got you.
so it definitely seems like it's an invasion angle. I was thinking about
Yes.
this, and ROH invaded Impact recently. The Kingdom was a part of it, with
Oh,
their Honor No More situation. So I don't know if you heard that they had a faction called Honor No More. A couple of Ring of Honor people
I did not
invade.
know that.
They
Okay.
invaded Impact. So I'm thinking maybe this is Impact invading ROH, which would be interesting. But also, Jarrett mentioned AEW a lot. He didn't mention ROH.
Correct.
So I don't know. Having Impact and AEW and ROH and, like, as we know later, New Japan guys all on the show, that could be really cool. It could be like a really fun, cool
Yeah.
thing to have on the show. Or it could just get confusing and mean like a lot of people would be on TV and not other people wouldn't be. Like, I don't know how they're going to go with it. I think if they do it properly, it could be really cool, but it could also end up being like kind of confusing.
I agree. We're gonna give Tony the benefit of the doubt for now. Because I mean, what he always seems to pull out of left field is amazing. So, but he can't always do that. You
Right.
know, he has been very lucky. Like, I mean, just we always talk about with the injuries he had this summer, he still pulled out shows that were almost unthinkable.
Right. Like,
And
given the number of guys who were gone from like Forbidden Door and they still had
right,
a outstanding show. But
yeah,
yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I am slightly worried that if they bring in, a bunch of new guys to be with Jarrett, then they also have the ROH guys, they also have the New Japan guys, and then
right.
like that could be a lot. And we've said a million times, like Tony Khan can only do so many things. Like he can't. I know he wants to do everything, but it's a little like if he's going to be booking now 10 extra guys in addition to the guys
That
he's already
yeah,
booking, like it could become but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And maybe that's why he has people like Jarrett now to help with
yeah,
other stuff. Yeah.
and that's like he saw that he had a problem or was gonna have a problem, and he addressed it early, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't want to say over his head because I mean he runs a professional football team that has to in itself be way more complicated than wrestling. Just saying.
Yeah. But just like the
uh,
number of things that he's doing.
exactly. There was yeah. He doesn't run an entire football team. You know, he has a staff, and he knows that. And now he's starting to build a staff in AEW,
Right.
which is to me, it's coming off as very smart right now because he's making all the right moves.
I do really like just in terms of the experience. I mean, Jeff Jarrett probably would have still been working for WWF if WWE if they didn't have the whole changeover with Vince leaving and
Right.
Triple H coming. Like basically, Jeff Jarrett got released there because they wanted to hire Road Dogg back, essentially.
Right.
So that wasn't anything Double J did wrong. That was just
Oh
a
yeah, absolutely.
management changed, and we have different people now.
um. Well, with that, Jay Lethal does get the win. So we are going to get we have to have rubber match now. It's tied
Right.
1-1. Do you think we get something at Full Gear?
I think we might get Lethal and Jarrett against Sting and Darby.
Oh my God.
I feel
I
like
didn't
that's
even
where this
think
could go.
about that.
I feel like that's where this could go.
Oh my.
Because
Did
didn't
not even
Lethal
think.
and Jarrett team up in the Ric Flair match? They were a team, right?
Yes. Yes, they did.
So I feel like we could get that, and then we could have this bizarre world where Jeff Jarrett has faced both Ric Flair and Sting in 2022 on
Right.
pay-per-view,
Right.
which is just insane. But
Yeah, and that brings us to, do you give Sting a live match, or do you do another um like pre-taped Hardy type match?
I could do. I would like him to do a live match. I mean, he's done some live matches. I mean, he's
Yeah.
obviously 60 whatever years old, so he only has so much left to
That's
do.
so
But
unreal.
yeah, but if he could do it, yeah, go for it. Do a live match. Just for the crowd reaction alone, he doesn't have to
Oh
do
yeah.
much.
Well, and that's the thing with Sting. Like, obviously, Darby is going to be the workhorse,
Right.
but that goes back to how we started this conversation. That means Darby's going to be like hit by a truck.
Right.
So I could see that being a live match or a cinematic. I don't care either way, because
Yeah, it'll be
AEW's
fun.
their first cinematic match was great. Well, right after that match and before the incredible commercial, we had uh, just this quick little promo by Mox, which I wrote down. It reminded me of an old school ECW promo. Uh, it was just Mox pacing back and forth, but putting over Lee Moriarty, not
Yeah,
like
I liked it.
talking smack on him. Yeah,
And I like because it was like it was interesting because it was a backstage like standing in front of the backdrop promo. Like it wasn't
yeah,
him at a different location. It wasn't him in the ring. It was just like, and I liked that it was just him. Usually the backstage promos would have Renee, but they didn't have him with Renee for
right,
obvious reasons.
right.
And I liked it. It was a good promo. Yeah, and he put over Lee Moriarty. Like, I mean, John
Yes,
Moxley can like, I think I've said this before. John Moxley makes when he cuts a promo about a guy or a match or a wrestler, like he makes it seem like the most important thing. Like even if you don't care about Lee Moriarty, like after that promo, you do care about him
yeah,
and you do care about this match. Like he does a really good job.
yeah. It was very ECW. It was very just. It was cool. It was just cool. And
So
I wrote,
Mox is pretty much wrestler of the year at this point, right?
he almost has to be.
I think he has to be. He's had like even though he missed time this year, like he's
Yeah,
done so much since like the summer until now.
yeah, and it looks like he's gonna go. He's gonna end the year on a high note. I
Right.
mean, it's either he's either gonna lose at Full Gear, or he's gonna beat MJF, and then they're gonna bring the feud into the new year.
Right. So
Like
either way, like it's going to be
either
a
way, right?
yeah.
Um, but that leads us to the second Elite commercial. Well, unless there was one Friday, I did not see Rampage.
No, there wasn't.
Okay, so this is the second uh, Elite commercial, with kind of them being erased or forgot about, or I don't know what they're leaning on. What do you think's
Yeah, it
happening?
seems like it's the. I don't know if this was supposed to be like both promos. I don't know if it was supposed to be this is AEW's viewpoint of them erasing the elite, or if it's the elite feel like they're being erased, or
Ooh,
felt like I don't know whose viewpoint it is, but either way, it works.
yeah. It was so good. It's just they're the best 15-second spots ever.
Yeah,
And
just like it was smart but simple.
yeah,
When they showed the clip of them winning the match, I was like, well, that's weird that they're showing that. And then they
yeah.
zoomed out to the guy editing and just like removing the clip. It was just so easy. Like it was such a
Yeah.
simple segment, but it was so
Oh,
good.
so good. So freaking good. And oh, that led us to we had a real commercial break, and then we came back, and that led us to the AEW World Title Eliminator match between Mox and Lee Moriarty. Um, you pointed it out that Regal came through the crowd with Mox, which I thought was very odd for Regal, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and Regal wasn't on commentary, but Ethan Page was, so that works.
Yeah, and I love this. I love the new Ethan Page gimmick. It's perfect. Uh,
And it's great that he's getting time. Like he's getting to be on TV a lot.
yes,
He's now in like a main story, like it's a main event storyline with John Moxley. Like he's getting,
yes.
and he's great, so he deserves this.
Oh, I totally agree. And it was funny when this was all starting with a firm. I 1000% thought that Stokely was gonna be the mouth,
Right.
and it's almost like Ethan is.
Yeah.
It's really a cool dynamic. I like it.
Now I know it's early to say, but do you think he wins the Full Gear tournament? I know they haven't really announced too many people in it, but
I would really like to see that. Is he officially in it? Like
he's in it, and
okay.
Dante. Those are the only ones announced. They're supposed to announce more on Rampage.
Okay. Um, yeah, I would love to see him win it. He deserves it too.
I think just because they're involving him in the main event, like if he won, he could immediately go against Mox or MJF, and it would make sense.
Right. Okay. So is that like another, like if you win that tournament, is it like another like chip situation?
No, it's
Or
you
do
get
they?
it's for the match at Winter's Coming. It's the one that
Oh, okay. You
it's the
told
one
me
that Kenny
that.
Omega won a couple years ago when he faced
Okay.
John Moxley.
Okay. Yeah, you sent me that in an email. I remember that
Yeah.
now.
So
Okay.
it would be at the Winter's Coming pay-per-view. So, I mean Dynamite, sorry. So it's whoever him against whoever's the champion.
I hope it's Ethan. Speaking of Ethan Page, we had a very technical start to the match, and Ethan Page said something that I don't know if you caught, but did you notice that he said that MJF doesn't have what it takes to beat John Moxley?
Oh, I didn't even catch that. No.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. Little tidbit. It was it was I don't know, maybe 2 minutes into the match, like, and it was said, and I even rewound after the show ended. I went back and I rewatched it, and not one of the commentators acknowledged it, and the next Caliber went right into the next move set. So I loved how they just let it kind of breathe.
Yeah, this stuff
And
with MJF and the Firm and Moxley, like I love how they're doing it. Like the Firm is kind of its own thing, who's not really on either of their sides. Like they only
right,
helped MJF because they got paid for it. Like I like where
right,
they're going with this.
yeah, it's wrestling mercenaries is like probably something that I can't really remember ever being a thing.
Yeah,
Like as a
not like a
faction.
stable, not like a faction that just kind of floats around. No.
See that? See, like how has that never been done?
Yeah.
It like
I mean,
just
they had the APA for hire, but they were like two guys. They weren't a whole group.
right. And to think about it, like you could even get into like crazy situations where like say me and you are wrestling each other, but we both hired the firm
Right.
and the firm doesn't know because the guys don't all talk like who they're
Right.
working with, and then two guys have to come to save
Right.
the
It's a cool
yeah,
story.
it's a very cool story. Um uh Actually, Lee Moriarty, we're gonna go back to him right now. Matt Wrestling 101 with Mox, and actually took it to Mox through the picture in picture. I could not believe that they let, I don't want to say that they let him. I mean, he deserves it. It was a really good look for Lee Moriarty, but that whole commercial break, he was in control. Like, were the commentators putting him over?
Yeah, pretty much. Ethan Page was too. They all put him over pretty well. And I think that was part of the reason they had the match in the first place was to put him over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Mox correctly realizes that he's at a point where like he can look bad for half of a match and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like
Absolutely.
he's John Moxley. It doesn't matter what happens. And so he has no problem with like losing 80% of a match if it's going to help put someone else over. And that's the right thing to do.
Well, as soon as we came back from commercial break, he got Lee in his chokehold, and he tapped him out. But I thought it was so cool. Ethan Page rushes the ring and just gives Mox the big boot. Nothing else was done.
Right.
That was it made Ethan look so awesome.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, I don't care. I'm gonna get my point across.
Yeah, and they didn't have like the rest of the firm come out or the rest of the
Right.
Blackpool Combat Club. Like it was just that. It was cool.
Yeah, super cool. I loved it. We had a segment which, I mean, we always talk about AEW blurring the lines, and they kind of blurred the lines a little bit with Renee sat down with Saraya, and it was supposed to be Britt. And I kind of like how, when I say they blurred the lines, like they didn't, they let Britt tell her story later. They just kind of let it dangle, like this happened earlier. We don't know what happened. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they when they did it, because I was like, oh, they promoted it as Britt and Saraya, so it's a little weird to not then to just go, actually Britt's not there. Like it was a little weird. They explained it later, and it was a good explanation.
Yes.
I don't think that this was like a personal thing. Like I think it's obviously a storyline. Like it wasn't Britt being like, I don't want to be a part of this, but it made it seem like that, which was cool.
Yeah, it was again another thing that was like the little minutia that was put into it. Like you said, like they even pumped it up before the show, like a live sit down with Saraya and Britt Baker with Renee Paquette, blah blah blah, and then it didn't happen.
Right.
That it was so well. So,
and when Saraya said she has to check with one more doctor, do you think she's checking with one more doctor because she wants to try to get someone to clear her, or because she's been cleared and just wants to check with one more doctor to make sure she's cleared? Like in storyline, I'm assuming she's cleared because they wouldn't be doing this if she wasn't.
I think that was a shot at Britt saying that she was going to check her, like put her in her place.
All
like
right, I didn't even think of that.
That's the way I took it. I kind of rubbing her the wrong way.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that because it's pretty obvious that Saraya is cleared. They wouldn't be
obviously, yeah.
They wouldn't be hyping this to have her not be cleared.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's cool.
That's just the way that I took that. So
yeah, that's cool.
So right after that, we probably had the funniest segment.
Well, we also had a quick Regal backstage with MJF that I forgot to mention earlier.
Oh yes, we forgot to
not with MJF, about MJF.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. You start. You started.
Yeah, it was. I liked it because it was a little quick Regal being like, MJF, you think you're a big shot, but you're not a true villain yet. You still take shortcuts. Like it was basically the stuff you already said before.
Right.
I like that they just threw it in there because MJF wasn't on this show, but it wasn't. They're not forgetting MJF. They're not forgetting the MJF storyline. They're not forgetting what just happened. They're just MJF's not here, and so they're still forwarding that story moving that story forward. So
yeah,
it was good, and I like that MJF wasn't here. I know some people were upset that, oh, why could you not put him on the show? But he just got beat up by like 4 guys, so it would make sense for him to not be on the show.
Right. And like you said, Regal said just enough.
Yeah.
And there's obviously going to be a response, but in the perfect Regal way, like, just calling him Sunshine, he basically put him in his place. Like it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was exactly what they needed to do. It was just a short little thing with Regal, but it was enough.
Yes. The Acclaimed had the daddy ass birthday celebration.
That was fun.
It was so fun.
It seemed so much like a late 90s Attitude Era type segment, like a Rock Mick Foley type segment where like they just come out and do fun stuff.
Yeah. And just basically say, hey, you have 10 minutes, do literally whatever you want.
I'm sorry. I absolutely both love and find it weirdly funny that like they had that creepy, I don't know if you actually ended up watching it. They had that creepy segment with Swerve on Rampage where Swerve basically kidnapped him and broke his hands with pliers in like this really like horror movie type segment. And then And then he just comes out and is like, I can't do the scissor. That's why I'm upset. How about that someone broke your fingers?
Right. You have 2 broken hands right now.
Shouldn't you be like just a little upset? Like someone tied you up and snapped your fingers with a pair of pliers, but he's just like,
Yes.
but like, oh, I got scissors for my hand. Now I'm fine.
It was, yeah.
And they made the foam scissors, which they're going to sell millions of.
Oh, they are going to sell so many of those. Platinum Max came spitting fire at Elon Musk. Thought that was hilarious.
I love too that they had little interactions with the crowd. They looked at all the crowd signs and they picked that kid's scissors. I thought it was fun.
The kid thing was the best because, I mean, like Max obviously took the high road there. Like he could have went anywhere, but he took a little kid's,
right?
And it was that made that kid's day.
And people are going to be mad that like, oh, they're doing a scissoring thing with kids. I'm like, the kid doesn't know what you're talking about. He just thinks it's scissors.
It's a
actual like he doesn't know that there's a
exactly.
second meaning to this. So just relax, everyone. Just It's
and
for him, he's just talking about scissors and it's funny. So just chill.
Yeah. And I mean, he probably just thinks it's like a handshake when they do a little action. Like, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, some kid is probably going to get in trouble for that at school. But
yeah, some kid is yelling "scissor me, daddy ass" at his teacher or something. Yeah, and he's gonna get in trouble for it. But hey, I had a shirt that said "suck it" on the back that my mom wouldn't let me wear to school. So,
and
we've all been there.
We've all been there. It's the pains of being a pro wrestling fan. The Ass Boys showed up. Well, the Ass Boys showed up after.
There was a fun little DX reference in there.
Yeah. The Acclaimed gave Daddy Ass the world's greatest dad, and they added DY. So I thought that was funny.
And somehow he adopted 2 full-grown adults.
2 grown men. He adopted by just his signature. He apparently didn't even have to be involved in it. Like they just needed his signature.
That's right.
Then the Ass Boy.
I've always loved this like Billy hates his kids thing. I think it's hilarious.
I was just gonna say I was literally just gonna say I don't know how to say this without insulting them, but I love that their father hates them.
It's hilarious.
It's amazing.
And it's not even just for like this angle. Like it's been like even before he was involved with the Acclaim, he still kind of hated his kids. And at one point, I forget who, like Austin or something, was just like, "You're our dad," and he like just like patted both the Acclaimed on the back, like, "No, these are my kids."
Oh, it's amazing. But they were just the distraction, and Morrissey hit the high boot on Daddy Ass, and FTR makes the save. Are we going to get a 6-man?
Yeah, I think we will. I think that's where we're heading.
I think so too. So they're going to give Morrissey his first. I'm not saying the W. I'm sorry, people. Can't do it. It's the dumbest name. I'm just calling him Morrissey. His first real match. Be a 6-man.
As an AEW, because he had that match against Wardlow, but that was before he was actually signed.
Yeah.
And this does set up a match later on, an 8-man match later on. So.
Yes, it does. Let's go with that.
And getting dangerously close to members of the Pinnacle being involved with members of the firm and MJF. So
yes.
Here we go.
Yeah, we are a lot of, as you said, it was a lot of story night.
Yes.
Like a lot of storylines were advanced, or if they weren't advanced, they were at least like mentioned, like that thing. Like they just kept it relevant. They kept things not necessarily moving, but they said enough you didn't forget about it. And
I really do think we're going to get into a part where the other members of the Pinnacle, you know, Wardlow and FTR and Sean Spears, are going to be involved in a feud with the firm, and it's going to somehow result in them helping MJF despite what happened between them. I think, and that's going to be great.
It's going to be so great. Oh, is it going to be amazing? But Going back to what we said before about the Renee Paquette and Soraya segment, Britt shows up with, as she called Mr. Tony Schiavone, her personal interviewer, which didn't even call him by name. I just thought,
I thought that was great.
yeah, it's just my personal.
I'm here with my interviewer, and
Yeah.
Tony's like, "What are you talking about?"
Right, and like the guy that's been involved in wrestling for 6,000 years didn't even say his name. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But Britt and Jamie Hayter make an open challenge to anybody for Friday.
Yes.
Who do you think answers?
Well, they told you later.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, who are they wrestling?
It's Madison Rain and Sky Blue.
Oh, that's right. They did tell us that.
They mentioned it later, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that.
I thought that was cool.
And I really like that Britt is now being friendly to Jamie Hayter because you know their history, and you know Britt's never cared about Jamie Hayter until now that she needs her.
Right. And it's the payoff's going to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when Britt screws her, the crowd already loves her.
Right.
So it's going to go through the roof. Now, we had, talk about a storyline that stayed relevant. We had a big piece of the puzzle revealed during the Chris Jericho match.
Yes, this was another one where if you had given me 100 names to pick, I probably never would have picked the name that it ended up being.
Did not even think that one of my favorite of all times was eligible to wrestle Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it.
Ring of Honor World Championship match. Chris Jericho versus mystery opponent was an open challenge. He is now into the realm of as long as you had any belts. I mean, he even challenged the women after last night. So, Ring of Honor champion, he is going to challenge now. And Colt Cabana, boom, boom, answers the call. Very weird that all of a sudden he comes back, about 3 days after the
right
CM.
Also, completely unrelated. Isn't he in the Dark Order?
Yes.
But apparently he's not. But okay.
Right. Well, I think
he was never actually in Dark Order, right? Like he was like a tertiary member.
Yeah, but I think when Tony Khan first bought Ring of Honor, I could totally be making this up. I could swear he'd like tweeted out or something, "I can finally go home," or something to that effect.
Yeah, I know he'd been on Ring of Honor shows.
Yeah, and like a lot of people have like speculated that maybe he is going to be part of Ring of Honor, and then now that Tony Khan has basically said, very soon or sooner than later, we're going to hear big news. So a lot of Ring of Honor things have
I really hope ROH gets its TV show because, like,
it needs
all the stuff they've been doing with ROH on AEW has been good. Like, it's been fine. Like, I've never had a problem with any of it. Like, the matches are good, the storylines are good, but it does feel like every week there's like more and more ROH and less AEW every single week.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining because it has been like not entertaining. It hasn't been entertaining, but it's just like half the show is now ROH, and I get why. Because they want to keep all these people relevant and the name relevant, and because they do want to get their own show. Right. But at this point, it kind of feels like Tony Khan always wanted to buy ROH, and he likes owning ROH more than he likes owning AEW. It's a little weird.
It is a little weird.
I feel like this is like his 20-year-old dream of like, I want to buy this Ring of Honor company. Like he always wanted it, and now he did, and like.
Right. Hey, you could be right. Just as you said, the treatment that he gives it. I mean, I always make a point. Like this match had Bobby Cruz as the ring announcer and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. Like I love that they do that.
And I'm like 100% glad that he bought it, not WWE, and not even because not because I don't like WWE, but because they would do nothing with it. They would buy Ring of Honor and they would add it to their tape library, and it would be cool to have all the footage of Seth Rollins that they have, but they wouldn't use ROH for anything other than footage.
Yes. And half of that footage, it would just be sitting on their network, and if people watch, like they wouldn't use it for, like it would be there to watch,
Right.
But they're not gonna make like a best of Colt Cabana. You know what I mean? Like
No, they would use
yeah,
like a couple, stuff of Kevin Owens and stuff of Seth,
right.
like guys that work for them.
Yeah,
But the rest of it would kind of just be there.
yeah,
So it is. I know Tony Khan seems to be going the complete opposite direction, whereas Vince McMahon would be like, "I own this company and I'm shutting it down," and Tony Khan's like, I own this company now and I'm going to make it even more important than my own company." Like
right,
it's
right.
the anti Vince McMahon approach to this, but I really hope it results in them getting a TV show, just because it should.
It definitely should. Um, Either Colt Cabana is a very good actor, or he was a little emotional when he was in the ring across from
Yeah,
Chris Jericho.
yeah, and I mean the crowd responded to him really well. Like they
Yeah,
chanted for him, and
yeah. It was a perfect return. It was so well done. I know we say that all the time, but until there's one that's not well done, we'll
yeah,
say if it sucks. But they're all good. So far. Uh, Talk about something that was ugly though. Daniel Garcia may have saved Chris Jericho and Colt Cabana from being hurt.
oh yeah,
Uh,
that could have been bad.
yeah, when they were up on the turnbuckle and Jericho was like on Colt's shoulders, and then I don't know if Colt slipped or if Jericho started like Jericho's weight shifted,
Yeah, I'm not
and
sure what they were
then
even going for when they were up there.
yeah, and Jericho's weight kind of took him and Colt over, and Daniel Garcia literally jumped in front of
Yeah,
them,
that's good
and
thinking.
yeah, and Jericho like kind of hit Garcia and landed on his knees, and Colt was actually able to turn it into like, even though it probably hurt really bad, he kind of turned it into a bump on the ring apron and then bounced to the floor.
Yeah, they both looked kind of shaken up by it
Yeah, they
and
did.
confused. Like I think neither of them really knew where they were when they hit the ground.
Yes,
But
and
it could have been significantly worse. I think they were confused
yes,
because Garcia intervened and like they ended up in a
yes,
spot they didn't expect to be in.
right. And they probably patted Garcia on the back afterwards because
Yeah,
that was a,
it could have
you
been
know,
really. One of them could have landed on their neck or their head or something. Like it could have been bad.
and hell, give Garcia credit. I mean, Jericho could have landed on his head or neck. I mean,
Right.
he was coming down dead, and I mean that was
Yeah.
super cool, very gnarly, and much props to Daniel
And I
Garcia.
mean that's what we've said a million times before. Like you can get hurt in wrestling with
Yeah,
something that's not it doesn't you don't have to be thrown off the top of a cage or jump off a ladder to get hurt.
right.
Like it could be
Yeah,
something like what just happened. If
yeah,
someone had fallen, like what happened to Hangman Page, like you can fall
yeah,
slightly wrong and
yeah.
it can be really bad.
And just look at how, like, I mean, it probably in their minds it probably happened in a second, but like as we're watching on TV, it basically happened in slow motion. Like
Right.
Jericho's weight just kind of went, and then Colt can't like counter that, and then they literally both just went bloop, and
Yeah.
you're on the floor that quick. I mean, you're very correct by saying that it can go wrong very fast in that ring. Um, it was a very physical, hard hitting match. Jericho hit the code breaker out of left field. I don't know if they ran out of time. I just thought the ending seemed a little rushed.
I kind of liked how they did the ending because
Oh,
I mean
nice.
the code breaker is not even, it's not Jericho's finisher. It's like a signature
That's
move,
true.
basically, right? And
Yeah,
I like that he won with it because no disrespect to Colt Cabana, but he's not Chris Jericho. He's not a former world champion. He's
true.
not like he was a tag team guy.
Yeah, he was a
Um,
tag team champion.
so I mean Jericho should be able to beat Colt Cabana. And he shouldn't necessarily have to use his finisher to do it. So I liked how they ended it. It was kind of like Colt Cabana had his moments. He had a near fall that Jake Hager broke up, but then
Yes,
Jericho could beat him pretty easily, which should have been how it went. Like Jericho is a different level than Colt Cabana is.
agreed. I mean, I mean,
And I just
totally.
want to take a moment to talk about Jake Hager and his hat. I
So
love the
good.
hat.
I love
Like
that too.
Jake Hager's never really had a personality until they gave him this hat.
Yeah,
And like the
yeah.
hat thing is incredible. Like the fact that
It's
he loves the hat and like will get
yes.
mad at you if you mess with his hat. Like it's great.
It's
It's
incredible.
hilarious.
Well, speaking of, did you see the? I did not notice it during the live show. As someone tweeted it today, and then I had to look it up on YouTube. Did you see the clip of them when they were walking up the ramp and Hager got the cramp? in his leg?
No, no.
He's literally walking up the ramp and like he gets a cramp like in his hamstring and he
Yeah.
kind of tries to like play it off like real cool and then it hits him and he falls to the ground and just starts humping the ramp and like the crowd's popping and he's like looking at him and going like yeah. But it's
No, I didn't
he
even
like
notice that.
it was like dude, just after we're done here, just go on YouTube and watch it. Like he just literally grabs his leg and just falls to the ramp and then just starts humping the ramp.
I just
And
love
it was great.
I love this gimmick he has right now because this
It's
this is such a sports entertainment type gimmick. Like, oh,
yes, it
let's
is.
give the guy a hat that he loves. That's going to be his
Yes.
gimmick. And it
Yes.
sounds really dumb to be like, what's your gimmick? I have a purple
The
hat
hat.
and I really like it.
Yeah.
Right? But that's his gimmick and he's doing such a good it's hilarious.
It's unbelievably hilarious.
And subtly hilarious. He doesn't come out and go, I love my hat. Like he does little things that make
Right.
you like know that he loves this hat. And it's great.
And the fact that it just happened by accident, like
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it happened with like Daniel Garcia turned down the hat and he's like,
yeah.
it's a nice hat.
And he just picked it up and put it on. And
It's
now
great.
here it is. It's great.
It's hilarious. I think it's great.
Well, as after the humping incident on his cramp must have went away because the JAS grabs Ian Riccaboni, and I really hope those weren't his real glasses, or
I
that
thought
he
that
was
when Jericho was going to break, you know how Jericho kind of held them up and then
Yeah.
like kind of hesitated. I think he was thinking like, are these his actual glasses? Like if I break these, can he get home? Like,
right, because that's the first thing I thought of. Like, okay, like before I had my eye surgery and have perfect vision now, I was blind as a bat. If you
oh yeah, I'm
broke my
super blind. Like
glasses-
if I was at a place and someone broke my glasses, like I couldn't get home. Like I'm not
Exactly.
driving home. I can't
Yeah.
drive like without them. So I
Right.
think you could see Jericho held them up and kind of had like a split second to be like, these aren't his actual glasses, right? Because
Right.
like I could really screw him.
Well, the part that I mean, yeah, Jericho breaks him in half or whatever, but the greatest part is when he threw him on the ground. He was being beat up. And Matt Menard was holding him. He outstretched his foot and just continued to stomp on Ian Riccaboni's glasses while he was holding him and getting beat up.
Yeah.
Matt Menard is gold.
Yeah, say what you want about like the sports entertainment gimmick. I know some people don't like it, but like it's done so many great things for 2.0 and for Jake Hager, like just them getting to be silly and like dumb.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Like they've all really bought into like just being like silly characters, and it's great.
And look where they came from and look what they were when they were there.
Right.
They were silly characters from WWE.
Yeah, and they're
like,
just letting them be like, I'm pretty sure that they're probably now at a level where like no one's telling them what to do when they go out there. They're just like, you know what to do. Your characters, you know your character, go be you. And they're just being themselves, and it's great.
Right. And then, I mean, nobody was coming out for the save. I thought that was kind of weak. I mean, it's Ian Riccaboni, like, and then all of a sudden, the BCC slowly comes out, which I also thought was funny but very pro wrestling. Like, you're in a group that, like, obviously you probably hang out together, but you came out one at a time.
Yeah, I pictured it as like they were off doing different stuff backstage and like separately learn. Like Claudio comes out and then Danielson was like, "What was that? Oh, what's he doing? Okay, I'm going to." And then Yuta like sees it on the monitor and is like, "Okay, I'll join in too." Like there was a part of me that thought Yuta wasn't going to come out because of the problems he's having with Danielson. Ooh. I thought that maybe Yuta wouldn't show up, but he did.
So. Yeah, and he went right after Garcia, didn't he?
Yeah,
which
you got a big pop for it too. Like Yuta got a big pop to come out. Like it was.
Yes, he did.
I'm a little confused here because this seems like it's heading to a Jericho Claudio match, but we've already had a Jericho Claudio match. Are they doing it again?
That is true.
It seems like that's where this is going.
Well, if you think about it, Jericho does keep saying he'll fight any former champion, and Claudio's now one of those, technically.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the one he beat in the first place. But yeah,
I mean, eventually, I guess he'll have to run through it.
Yeah, I find it a little odd, and like the JASBC, like I don't have a problem with like the feud continuing necessarily because if you hate somebody, you don't stop hating them because you've had a wrestling match. Like I understand
Right.
why they continue to hate each other, but it's a little weird. Like if Blood and Guts didn't end it, what ends this feud? Like are they just gonna hate each other, like kind of fight each other forever?
Oh yeah, I never thought of that. Like, do we get? Well, I mean, I don't know what Jericho's plans are, but I mean, a lot of bands do winter tours.
Right.
Maybe they do something where, like, I know Jericho doesn't miss every week when he's on tour, but maybe they do something like in a big match where Jericho quote unquote gets hurt and like the JAS is kind of down and out. I mean, it still exists.
Right.
Jericho's out with his band and they're just like looking for a leader. So I don't know what they do with it, but
Yeah, and I mean, this is probably going to go to a Danielson Yuta match too. So it's not
true.
it's not necessarily just JS against BCC, but it's a little, I don't know, it's a little odd that this feud just keeps going, and I don't hate it. Like
Yes.
it makes sense why it keeps going, but
Yeah.
it's been going on for a long time.
A very long time.
So before we move on, what do you
Yes.
think of the Colt Cabana stuff? Is this CM Punk's gone, so we can put Colt Cabana back on AEW? Or was this we're letting everyone know that we know that you know what happened with CM Punk? Or like, where do you think this? Why do you think this happened for a reason? They didn't put Colt Cabana on this week for no reason.
I think this is just part of the process to get everybody back, and it's all part of the work. We all know where I stand, so I don't have to explain that. But it was just another piece of the puzzle that was revealed. I mean, what started his whole rant? He said, "Hey, aren't you the guy that just did that interview?" And then he called Colt Cabana by his real name, and then he was like, "Oh, f that guy, blah blah blah," and he still has a checking account with his mother. Can you believe that? And who did they witness? Who did they reference on the way to the ring? Colt Cabana is on his way to the ring.
Right.
Excalibur references his mother. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just definitely that was on purpose. Like I'm not 100%. The only thing I'm thinking of is if it's a work, this is making you fall for the work more. I'm assuming that's the point of it.
Yes.
To be like, oh, now that CM Punk's gone, we can put Colt Cabana back on TV. You were right when you said that wasn't why he was. That was why he was not on TV. It was CM Punk's fault. Like I get that.
Yeah.
But if it's not, it's a little weird to just be like basically admitting that he was correct.
Yeah.
Because like if the story was CM Punk and Colt Cabana don't get along, and like say assuming it's real, assuming all of this is real.
Right.
If the story is CM Punk and Colt Cabana don't get along, so Tony Khan, this is the way I picture it. Tony Khan preemptively moved Colt Cabana to ROH just because he didn't want there to be an argument backstage. So he did before there was an argument backstage, he was probably thinking, I'm going to put them on separate shows
right,
so that they don't fight, and it'll be better for everyone. If that is what happened, and then Punk is gone, so he can bring him back, isn't that kind of admitting that the rumors about CM Punk were right?
Yeah.
Like the rumors about him having a problem with Colt Cabana and not wanting to be on the same show, like they're admitting that Tony Khan kind of picked CM Punk over Colt Cabana, which I mean, of course he did. But
see, okay, we're gonna pull back the curtain here for me. I'm gonna let you into my head. After this all happened last night, I started to think. We all know how Punk's mind thinks. What if the whole story between him and Colt Cabana was either A, fake the whole time, or B, like, yeah, they did sue each other, but then they buried the hatchet and they made up like 5 years ago and just said, hey, let's just keep this. Hey, I don't work in wrestling anymore. Like, you can come over to my house. We live a block away from each other. No one will ever know. Blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they could have totally done that and then just said, hey, let's put this super personal stuff in that people still think is real and that's how we could start it. Your name makes me so mad that I'm going to see somebody who you're friends with. It's just going to make me go nuts.
And it's odd to me. I don't want to turn this into a whole CM Punk conspiracy podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's odd to me that we heard most of the stuff we heard up until last week was the side of the Young Bucks side, because obviously they are close with Meltzer, and they
right.
So all the stuff that you heard from what happened at All Out, post All Out, was kind of the Young Bucks side of the story,
correct?
Or the Elite side of the story. And then this week or last week, we started hearing some stuff from CM Punk's side of the story, and it was from, and now I forget his name, but it was from the same journalist that he yelled at the press conference, who apparently was friends with Colt Cabana. And to me, it seems a little odd that like this is all coming to a head right now.
Yes, exactly.
And I've said this before, whether it's a work or it's not a work, or whether they hate each other or they don't hate each other, CM Punk and the Elite, I would assume, aren't dumb enough to think, even if they absolutely hate each other, that they could make so much money.
Yeah.
If they just work together. That's why the whole idea of like them buying CM Punk out and leaving, I can't see that happening, because even if they hate each other, even if they're so mad at each other, it was months ago now. And you would have to think that at some point they would sit down and go, you know what, if I just suck it up and have an angle with this guy, it's going to be so successful that I can retire immediately afterwards.
I mean, and this whole thing where people think that Punk's going to WWE. Okay. Even if Tony Khan pulled a knife on him and said, "Get out of my company right now. I hate you," he would never go back there. A, because he doesn't have to. Honestly, I could see him, if he still wanted to wrestle, he would either wrestle on the Indies, seriously, or go to Japan. He would never go back to WWE.
Only if he has such a big personal problem with Tony, like say him and Tony Khan hate each other so much, and he has such a big personal problem with Tony Khan, he would do it just to like stick it to him. And I don't think he'd be a full-time wrestler. I think I could see him going and doing like one show just to stick it to him.
But is he really that vindictive? I mean, he didn't do that for 7 years to Vince.
Like, well, he had nowhere to go though, really.
But I mean, he could have went anywhere. He could have went to Japan.
Right.
Like he could have went on freaking television. Someone would have paid him.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
And then he could have day one been at the AEW announcement party.
Right. That's true.
I mean, I just don't.
Or the only other way I could see, and I don't think this is his personality, but the only other way I could see him going there is if he wants to end his in-ring career on like a high note, as opposed to getting injured and having to forfeit a title.
Yeah, but I don't know. I could just, I would.
Or if they gave him, $500 million.
Like who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters to him as much as wrestling in general matters to him.
Right. No, I could see that. Yeah, it's debatable whether or not he would go. Like, I definitely don't think it's a given. My last thing I'm going to say on this, because I don't, I said, I don't want to make this whole CM Punk podcast. We've done that already. The only thing I want to say is the idea that they would buy him out of his contract, but they're worried about a non-compete because they don't want him to go into WWE.
Right.
The way you avoid that is don't buy him out of his contract.
Exactly.
Like they could just not buy him out.
Right.
And he's injured anyway. Like, yeah, they're paying him to sit at home, but they're already, if they buy him out, the word buy is in that phrase. Like they'd be paying money. They'd be paying money anyway.
Right.
So I don't think if Tony Khan is worried about him going to WWE, like he'll spend a little bit more money just to keep him under contract for like 3 more years.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why people are thinking like, oh, they have to buy him out. No, they don't. They could just pay him to not be on TV.
Yeah. I mean,
and if the Elite are like, I heard, the Elite are so mad at him that they won't even, come back to the company as long as he's a member of the roster, but he won't be a member of the roster. Pay him to do nothing. And not show up and not be involved and not wrestle and but he has a 3-year contract or whatever. So just pay him to not be on TV.
Yeah, and as you said before, if the elite are that dense that they don't realize that this would be like just, I mean, just saying it out loud, Punk and Omega, that sells. I mean, if they just say that headline Forbidden Door 2 in Japan, that would
Right.
sell out the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, this is my
Like,
and I don't think this is stupid that this is a controversial opinion. My
yes,
controversial opinion is he comes back and he has a match with Kenny Omega.
yeah,
Whether it's a work or it's not a work or anything, like
right,
it makes too much sense to
right,
like I honestly think like even if they hate each other, even if they hate each other more than anyone they've ever hated in their life,
hmm
I think you give it 6 months or a year to blow over because he's
yeah,
injured anyway, right?
right.
You give it some time to blow over, and then you go, hey, you know what? It's
Let's
stupid
make some
not to do
money.
this match.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, look what controversy breeds. Like, just look at UFC. There are guys and girls in there that literally hate each other, and they just go in there and beat the hell out of each other.
Right.
And that's where you get your frustrations out. Like, yes, you don't want pro wrestlers to fight each other every match, but if you get a little stiff punch in here or there, eventually those wear out, and then you just check your bank account every day, and it's going up.
And realistically, like if they hate each other so much, give them mics and just go, you can just say whatever. Just say it. Like
Right.
just like let them insult each other and like air out
Yes.
whatever negative
Yep.
stuff they want to say. Like just let them do it on TV
Yeah.
because that's good TV.
Yeah. And like I said, and then it's eventually going to go away because you're going to A, get all that out, and B, your bank account's going to start going through the roof for like
Right. And the crowd's
t-shirts
going to
and
react and the buy rates
yeah.
are going to go up. And you're going to be
Yep.
like, oh, wait, all I have to do is work with this and it's going to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to keep
it's,
talking about it, but it
yeah,
just,
I agree.
all the stuff that's out there is ridiculous to me. Anyway,
Very
moving on.
ridiculous. Very ridiculous. Moving on.
Colt, and all because Colt Cabana showed up.
Yeah. All because Colt Cabana showed up.
Also, I'm sorry, but I refuse to believe that CM Punk would throw away his entire career because he's mad at Colt Cabana.
Also agreed. also agree to that. Over like, okay, one last thing. It's over $1 million. CM Punk is worth like 50, 80 million or something. Like,
Right. And
he doesn't care about $1 million.
no offense, but like CM Punk doesn't like a lot of people.
Well, that too. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like why Colt Cabana? Like he hates a lot of people and a lot of people hate him. So like why one guy? Is he just like I'm gonna risk it all?
Yes. Yeah. This one SOB
Right.
that shares
Like
a
he doesn't
bank
even talk to
account
his
with
own
his mother.
family and he moved on
Right.
from that. Like
Right. Right.
anyway.
Anyway.
Speaking of being willing to be mean to somebody, Pac told Phoenix to hit someone with a hammer.
Yes, he did. And I like this. I like it. Because I have a theory, or that I'm going to get into here in a minute.
All right.
He does offer the hammer, and he tells him to use it against Orange, and Phoenix says he's going to do it on his own. Blah 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 blah. This angle that I think they're trying to set up, which if it's done right, it's going to be incredible. They're going to be the trios champions, but they're going to split as a group.
I could see that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's like they're gonna tell Pac, hey, quit cheating, blah 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 blah, and he's gonna keep cheating, and the group's gonna be like, hey, that's it, group's done. But oh no, we're still tethered to each other with these stupid
Yeah, like we're not
championships.
friends anymore, but we're on the same team.
Yeah, oh, it's gonna
Yeah.
be so good if it's done. If they can pull it off, it's gonna be really cool.
And it's such a pro wrestling thing for Pac to like exclusively hit people with a hammer.
With a
Like he
hammer,
doesn't cheat in
yes,
any other way. He only
correct,
cheats in this one specific way.
yes, yeah. He has to go over to the bell ringer, timekeeper. I couldn't think
Yeah.
of the word, and steal
And
their
like
hammer.
and move a chair out of the way because he's not going to hit you with a chair. That's not how he
Correct.
cheats.
Right.
He cheats with a
Right.
hammer.
With the hammer. Right. He's not going to pick up the bell, which would
No, no,
probably
no.
do. No.
Only
Yeah.
the hammer.
Only the hammer. But this little segment set up the three-way All Atlantic Championship match between Luchasaurus, Ray Phoenix, and Orange Cassidy. And I want to say Orange Cassidy's new shirt is absolutely incredible. Did you notice it?
I didn't even notice it.
It's a picture of the Earth, and the Atlantic Ocean is just, it's like a cartoon, but it's painted orange, and it
Oh,
says,
nice.
I'm champion of this.
Okay, that's good.
Or something to that. Like,
I like that.
It's incredible
I like that.
that he's champion of the ocean. I
like that. I like that he's elevating this title. Like, not that Pac
yes,
did a bad job, but like the All Atlantic title, like since Orange Cassidy won it, like he's, for everything everyone says about him being, you know, comedy character and whatever, like he's elevating this belt.
yes, and like you said, no disrespect to Pac, like Pac deserved it. Pac was very honorable with the belt, and it was
Right.
super cool that he was first.
Yes.
But you're right, Orange Cassidy is more over as like wrestling purists, like Pac. Everybody likes Orange Cassidy,
Right.
so it's it's an interesting dynamic. Like, as far as like, I think that the better wrestler would be more popular, but wrestling fans think pure wrestlers are born.
Right. I mean, especially with an AEW audience, you would think, because
Right.
AEW is
It's
more of a pure
right.
wrestling audience. But yeah, Orange Cassidy's way more over.
Um,
and good for him. Like, it's not like he's a bad wrestler. He's a great
oh
wrestler.
no,
So
no,
that's
he's
not
great
even
wrestler.
that's not even the problem. But
oh,
yeah,
him and Ray Phoenix in this match put on a clinic, and we're going to get to why Luchasaurus didn't, because very early on, Jungle Boy Jack, that seemed to be
yes,
what they were calling him.
yes, they make a point to mention the Jack Perry now a lot, which I like.
Yes. Attack Luchasaurus. He attacks Luchasaurus and does the super sprint move, crossbody, takes Luchasaurus um, off the stage. And did they go through? Yeah, they went through a table.
Good thing there was a table in that random spot where there's never a
Yes.
table. That was good.
That was very fortunate.
Lucky.
That was
lucky that
yes,
someone happened to put a table in that
very
empty
fortunate
space on the ground.
that it wasn't like a desk and it was just a folding table.
Yes.
Because that would have really sucked if it was a piece of furniture.
Or just like, you know, camera equipment. Good thing they happen to have just a completely empty table sitting there. That was nice.
Right. And then, which I thought was weird, after that whole situation, Christian just joined on commentary. Like, did you notice that?
Yeah.
I just don't understand what happened.
Like, he was up on the ramp to try to stop Jungle Boy, and then it was like, well, since I'm here, might as well do some commentary.
Right. It's, again, typical pro wrestling. You don't question it. But if you say it out loud, you laugh because it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
This is the point of the match that Orange Cassidy and Ray Phoenix, I literally wrote down, they burned down the house, because
yeah, for sure,
they just went bananas. It was nonstop, back and forth, incredible. They just put on a clinic. It was
great stuff.
Great stuff. Orange Cassidy hit about every one of his signature moves, and then finally hit the orange punch and on Ray Phoenix, and he gets the clean pin.
I'm ashamed to admit, you know how I think you sent me a thread, I think a couple days ago, of like, what's a wrestling thing that you didn't realize, like a reference or a pun that you didn't get. I didn't get orange punch is a drink until like 2 days ago. And I always just thought, like, it's a punch that Orange Cassidy does. Like, oh no, wait, they mean drink. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. Well, in that same thread, I never realized that the sharpshooter was put on by
the Hitman.
Hart,
yes.
By the Hitman, also known as the excellence of execution.
Right.
Never put any of those together.
Yeah.
I was blown away. That's incredible.
But yeah, as soon as I saw the orange punch things, I was like, yeah, how did I not see that? How did I not realize that before, that they're referring to a drink, not just a punch that he does?
Now, we saw something very cool after this match. People were a little confused, myself included, until they told me who it was. And then
I didn't know who he was till they announced it.
Yeah. I'm not even going to attempt to say his first name, so we can get that out of the way. Shibata
Yes.
makes first time we've seen him since Forbidden Door.
Yes.
From New Japan Pro Wrestling, came with Rocky Romero, who is like the United States like liaison for New Japan.
Right.
And came to the ring and basically said, Orange Cassidy, we're going on Friday, buddy. And I'm totally okay with this. This match is going to be bananas.
Do you think it's odd that like I looked him up? He had like a serious like brain injury, Shibata.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had like brain surgery because he had like something in his brain. I don't know
Oh,
what it was
wow.
from like doing headbutts or something. Like he hurt himself and like had to have brain surgery.
Wow.
I think he's only had like 1 or 2 matches since then.
Whoa.
And do you find it odd? Do you find it odd that they're just like it's kind of a random match against Orange Cassidy on Rampage? Like they're just like they're throwing in this. It's going to be a good match. No,
Oh, yeah.
not saying it's not, but they're kind of just like, yeah, Friday Rampage. Here you go. It's a little. I don't know. I found it weird.
Well, apparently, from what I read after, like what I read on the internet today, like he was supposed to have like a bigger role leading into Forbidden Door.
Okay.
And that apparently didn't happen or couldn't happen. But like I said, I didn't even know about this injury. So maybe that's what was, maybe he was going through physical therapy or something. I don't know. But he just asked for 2 matches and he went straight to Tony Khan.
Yeah.
And he asked for Orange Cassidy and Bryan Danielson, and he said yes to both. So
yeah.
Yeah,
he had a subdural hematoma, which required emergency surgery.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's bleeding on the brain.
Yeah, the injury was caused by Shibata's repeated use of a headbutt as a signature move. This, combined with severe hydration, caused him to experience some paralysis on the right side of his body, and it was assumed he would never wrestle again. But that's apparently not true.
Oh my God.
So he's wrestled like 2 matches, I think, since then. He was out for years. Like he got injured in 2017 and didn't come back till 2021.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I did not know any of that. It's going to be a great match. I'm with you, like about it being weird. Like you would think this would involve some build,
or they would hype it for like a pay-per-view or something, not just like Rampage. No offense to Rampage, but it's
exactly
Rampage, right? Like,
but the one thing about AEW that I like, and I've been meaning to say this for a few weeks, and it just popped in my head. I kind of like how they make when somebody's champion, like you kind of write your own rules. Like
right.
Orange Cassidy's now doing like it's not necessarily open challenge, but he's just doing like random like, hey, do you want to wrestle? All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And then Wardlow is the TNT champion. He really hasn't defended it that much.
Right.
But that could be maybe part of his character. Like it's
right.
I like what they do with their belts.
I like it. I like it too. Like Mox is in a world title or a world title eliminator match like every week.
Every week, right?
Whereas like when like Kenny Omega was champion, he didn't have this many matches.
Right. He might have he defended it like at the 4 pay-per-views.
Right. And then he'd have matches, but they'd be tag matches or like he wouldn't have championship matches every week, but Mox does.
Yeah, and it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
Now the next segment, me and you both said as it was happening, it had no business being as good as it was.
Yeah, and like Rick Ross, I know of as like a rapper, but he can cut promo. Like he could be if I was told that he was a pro wrestling manager, I would believe that.
Yes, I mean he almost carried that segment.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
He did an amazing job. I mean, it was great, and the fact that like AEW is pulling these. Like, of course, somebody on Twitter was mad. They're like, "Oh, Rick Ross hasn't been relevant since like 2002."
Right.
Okay, but do you know who Rick Ross is? Yes, and so does everybody else.
Right. Yeah. If you got someone who's hot right now, like maybe some people would know him, but not everybody.
Yeah, like who's that guy that wrestles in WWE now? Like that was a rapper.
Oh, Bad Bunny.
That guy.
I had no idea who he was. I know now he's a big deal. I'm not criticizing him. Like, I know he's very successful, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I thought when people were talking about Bad Bunny, I literally thought that was just an awful gimmick that was in WWE, and I was like, why aren't people shitting on this? That's the stupidest name ever. And then I was like, oh, he's a rapper
And
with the
now,
worst
like,
name ever.
at the time, yeah, I remember thinking, like, who is this weirdo they got? But then, like, no, he's very successful. He sold like
Yes,
millions of albums, but like to an audience that isn't, 40-year-old men. So like,
exactly, exactly. Yeah, like I'm not saying you need to get like '90s rap groups out there, but
right.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
everybody
naturally,
knows who
the
Rick
longer
Ross
someone's
is.
been around, the more
Yeah,
opportunity everyone has to know who they are.
and that would be the person that I would want there, because even if you're just flipping the channel, I know that doesn't happen that much anymore. Like, but people used to flip channels. uh, but if you're just going through the channels like that and you see Rick Ross and it's like, oh, is that rapper guy? What's he doing on TV? Oh, it's a wrestling show. Oh,
Yeah,
that
or
was
even someone who's heard about Rick Ross, like maybe you like his music, and now you're like, oh, he's
right.
on wrestling. I'll watch that. Right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect
So
sense.
you
It's
do need someone who's been around for a while, that they have a larger, more like diverse ages of audience. Whereas if
yeah,
you have someone who's maybe very popular right now, they're only known to a specific demographic, like generally younger people.
right. And oh, the other person they were mad about was Tyson on Friday.
Right. Yeah.
Like, of course you get Mike Tyson, because who knows Mike Tyson? Again, everybody.
Right. Everybody know. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's going to be on commentary. The dude's stoned half the time. He's probably going to say something amazing, and it's going to be like television. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be great.
What I really liked about this, two things I really liked about Swerve Segment. Rick Ross did a great job. I like that he just kept saying positivity, like just like
Yes.
ignoring whatever Keith Lee had to say.
Yes.
I also really liked that Keith Lee mentioned, like, oh, who was holding the camera when you were filming
Yes.
that creepy Billy Gunn segment? Because clearly that was not an AEW camera person, because they're not just going to stand there in if this is all real. They're
Right.
not going to stand there and be like, oh, he's breaking his fingers with pliers. All right, I'll zoom in on that. Right? Like they're not
Yes.
going to do that. Clearly,
Yes.
it was somebody. I liked it's a little bit of realism that,
Right.
like, no, he's not going to get an AEW camera person to come with him while he kidnaps someone. this is somebody else. So I like that he threw that in there, and they may never answer who it was. Like, it doesn't actually matter who it was. It's
Exactly.
just the fact that they mentioned it's clearly not it's a friend. It's not a professional camera person.
Exactly. Now, my next question for you, because this just popped in my head. What if it was Keith Lee and we do find out that that's who it was?
And that's why
And
Keith Lee threw that out there to throw you off. Okay.
yes.
All right. All right. I could see that.
Yeah. Just to be, they're going to play like good guy, bad guy,
Yeah,
but they're
I could see
really
that.
both. Oh,
Yeah,
man. That just
that's
popped in.
cool.
That was
That would be
super
cool.
cool.
I love this Swerve Keith Lee
Oh,
story.
it's very good.
Like I said before, I love that, like, if you're friends with someone and they do something that annoys you, you don't immediately go, well, I'm never speaking to you again. Like,
Yeah.
you try to work it out, and that's what's happening. Like, they're a tag team, they're successful. Swerve's kind of annoying Keith Lee, but he hasn't done anything bad enough. I mean, he did kidnap someone, but
Right.
he hasn't done anything bad enough to Keith Lee for them to like fight, but he's kind of annoyed at him.
Right. So yeah,
Though I feel like if my buddy kidnapped someone and broke their fingers, I'd be like, that's kind of a
that
little
might have
much.
been over the line. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have kidnapped that guy.
Right. But to each his own. TBS Championship. Uh, I'm just gonna come flat out and say it. This was the worst segment of the entire night. It made zero sense.
I get what they were trying for, like what they were going
It
for.
just it
just didn't come off. It didn't work.
Exactly.
Because
And
having Nyla talk during the match was just like distracting more than anything else.
yes. Yes. And you didn't have the announce team there to put, like, I felt bad for Marina, because Marina put on a heck of a match and she was overshadowed by Nyla screaming the whole time, and Jade just trying to get through the match because she wanted to beat up Nyla. Like,
Yeah,
again, I get what they were doing.
Yeah, it made the match like an afterthought. Like Marina didn't
Right.
even matter. Yeah.
Right. And it would have been better if they would have just had a regular match, and then Nyla runs down to, like, I don't know, she's gonna hit Jade, and she misses, and just typical heel thing. She
Just
misses and
something.
hits
Yeah.
Marina. Jade
I could
gets
see
the
what they were
pin,
going
and
for, but
yeah.
it didn't come off the way it should have
Yes.
come off for sure.
And
I mean,
it was just,
and I feel
go ahead.
bad because like Jade's great, Nyla's hilarious.
Yes.
Like Marina's good. Like she's getting
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
All of it was it just didn't work.
Yeah. Like, I mean, everything that Nyla said was funny. I laughed. But
Right.
like you said, if I wanted, I would give me that in a promo while the match is maybe playing. Like, give a pre-tape promo that only the people at home see.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah, it distracted from the match completely.
It did. Totally took away from it. But Jade won. She's now what, 41-0.
Yep.
She's definitely got to hit 50. Like,
yeah, they have to now. She's 41. You don't get to 41 and not go to 50.
Right. Yeah. And do you think she stops it? Like, do you think 50 is the magic number?
Yeah, either she loses right after 50, or maybe she loses 50. Like maybe they make it a really big deal that she's going to go for 50-0 and then doesn't get it.
Goes 49-1.
Right.
That would be cool.
I also really like that the baddies are just like inept at getting this belt back. Like they're just really bad at it. Like,
yeah, it's incredible.
I do think this is going to result in her just like getting sick of them and firing them.
Yeah. Oh, the baddies have run their course, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have been insanely irrelevant lately, and Jay doesn't need them, and I think everybody sees that.
Jay, it's like Stokely, or when she had Smart Mark. Like they serve their purpose, but Jade is bigger than them now.
Yes. Wow, I totally forgot that Smart Mark was her original.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a good thing.
I think Jade gets sick of the baddies and fires them, and then just like goes full face. And
100%,
and gets pushed even more than she is now.
Yeah, she will be women's champion by the end of 2023.
Yeah, Jade is. We've gushed about her a lot before. Yes. Like she's incredible.
As I always say, I'm so happy I was wrong about it. Legit, like I thought you were nuts, but I didn't see it. I didn't. Well, I mean, you always say, like, I talked up Ricky Starks. You didn't see
I didn't see. I didn't see. I thought Ricky Starks was fine, but I didn't see. But now, like, he's incredible. But...
Yeah, well, and that's how I was. I don't want people to think that like I hated Jade, or like I just thought she was too new.
Right.
Like she was too young, or not young, too green, and I don't know. Like I just didn't think she had it yet. I thought there was potential there, but my God, she had it.
I know, like any wrestler who's successful, it has to do with how they're booked and how the company pushes them and how the company treats them and the matches they're put in, like who they wrestle against. Like that's true for literally everyone.
Right.
But can you think of anyone who's risen from completely nobody to a star as fast as Jade has in like recent history? Because she was literally nobody. Like her match she had, that match with Shaq was honestly her first literally her first match.
Yeah.
Like
to be perfectly honest with you, the Giant in WCW.
Yeah. Okay.
They found him in college or something. They instantly got him into the power plant, and his first match, I think, was
he beat Hogan, didn't he?
I was going to say he either beat Ric Flair or Hogan for the championship.
He beat Hogan for the championship.
So maybe the Giant, aka Paul White.
Yeah, but other than like it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's the only one that I can. Really
maybe Goldberg.
Yeah, and Goldberg did. I mean, he didn't come out and win the championship, but he did the streak. Didn't he win like?
He won. He won like 100 and something. Yeah.
Because eventually they started to count like house shows too.
Right.
Because like he'd be on Nitro and he'd be like he's 90 or like 115-0, and then like next week he'd be like 145 and
right.
Like you're like, wait a minute, what happened?
I love that because like 7 days would have passed, but he somehow won 10 more matches.
Right. Time. Like, and I mean he probably did because they've run house shows,
Right.
every day. But like, yeah, like they didn't count those ones at the beginning, but then once he
Right.
got over, they started counting them.
Yeah. But yeah, but it's been a long time since someone who kind of
Very
who
long.
showed up out of nowhere. And I know people will say it's because the company pushed her, but like that's true for every single wrestler. Like you can be
Yeah.
the greatest wrestler in the world, and if they don't want to push you, you're
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler, right? Like
Yeah.
not a knock on Dolph Ziggler, but he's very talented, but they don't push him. Like
Right.
that happens, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
not a knock against Jade to be like, oh, the company's always behind everyone that they push. Like no one
Yes.
no one challenges for titles. It's a fake sport, right? Like no
Right.
one's challenging for a title unless the company wants them to. So
Well, you could say Danielson, and
that's true. Yeah, he forced his way in there. But
yeah, in WWE, like
yes,
they tried to ignore it,
yeah,
and the crowd just.
yeah,
But again, he didn't come out of nowhere though.
right. He was well known and
just
he had a very long career.
right, and they knew his potential, but
Yeah,
WWE didn't. So
yeah,
well, we have before we get to the main event, we had another of these like promo slash commercial slash mini movie type things. I don't know what they're doing, but I like them.
yeah. I like them a lot. Dynamite and Rampage, and for the last like couple weeks, have had a very different feel. With they've done more promo videos.
Yes.
Even for matches, they've done like little hype videos for the match before the match starts.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it was very cool. We saw from well, not saw, we heard from the House of Black, and
Yes.
First off, it was just incredible. It was maybe a minute and a half, like little thing, and I love that Julia is low key the leader.
Yeah,
And
I do. I like that a lot.
like she was like the centerpiece of this whole thing.
Right.
Like all the three men were quote unquote dead, being tied up and like in sheets and stuff. Like their bodies were being reborn, buried, burned. I don't know what they were doing with them.
Yeah, I've only watched it once, but I know there's like probably a million little hints in there. I don't know if you watched it more than once, but I know that if you watch it back a bunch, I'm sure there's a bunch of little things in there that I didn't notice. But
the one thing that I noticed on my second watch, whenever she is putting something, she's either putting the little chicken foot thing or whatever it is under, like on Brody King's chest.
yeah,
There's like a couple frame flash of Malachi, and his infected eye is no longer infected, but it's solid black, and it looked like something was running out of it.
Okay.
So, but it was different makeup, but it was still makeup. Like
right.
it wasn't like a teardrop painted on. Like it was like they put physically something in his eye and it was oozing out.
Okay.
But it's there for like, I literally paused the YouTube video and was going like frame by frame.
Yeah.
So if you do that, you can see that.
Yeah. So this basically, it was like a rebirth. Like Julia's bringing them back, essentially.
Yeah.
What I got out of it.
Same here. Yeah.
And I know that obviously there's the backstage situation, there's the rumors, there's whatever happened. If the situation was that they both, Buddy and Malachi requested their releases because they want to go back to WWE. Mm-hmm. If that's the situation, we always get mad at, WWE not releasing people when they want to be released. But there's a difference, at least in my eyes, between not releasing someone and then just like making them sit at home. And not releasing someone, but then like you're continuing to use them as a character as long as they want to be on TV. Like Malachi took some time off, which is what he wanted, but like they said no, you can't be released. But they're not punishing him. Like he's going to come back and he's going to be pushed like he would have been. Like contracts exist, and there's no problem in my eyes with making someone honor their contract as long as you're also honoring your contract. I hated when WWE would they wouldn't release you, but then also not going to let you wrestle.
Well, look at Mustafa Ali yet again.
Right.
He was on TV for like a month after Vince was fired.
Right.
And like he's just not on TV anymore.
Yeah. So like if you're not going to release someone, use them on TV.
Yeah.
And they are. So fine. I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. It sucks when you don't release them, but you also don't let them wrestle.
Yes.
Like that sucks because then you're just holding them for the sake of holding them.
Yeah.
I feel like they're holding Malachi and Buddy Matthews because they want to use them on television, which is
Correct.
fully within everyone's rights to do. So that's in my eyes where it's different than WB not releasing someone.
Yes, and I'm totally with you 100% on that. If someone comes to you and you have plans for them, and you say, well, hey, just take some time, but here's what's going to happen, and if you want to be a part of this, you're more than welcome to be. Like we have, like you said, we have contract, or not me and you, but they have contracts, uh, but it is a two-way street. You have to honor it as a business, but you also have to honor it as a worker. If they're putting stuff in front of you, like you have to show up for it. Like
right.
it's like
right.
And as Malachi said, there was never ill will towards anybody or anything. He just, and like me and you said, like, why wouldn't he want to be with his wife? Why wouldn't Buddy Matthews want to be with his girlfriend? Like,
yeah, I mean, if that makes perfect sense, of course. Yeah, I totally understand.
But here we are. It looks like everything's kind of smoothed out. And it looks like we're going to get the House of Black back.
And yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. I saw someone mention, I really hope that they kidnapped Miro. And then when they come back, they let Miro back on TV too. Because like Miro, I'm sure there's got to be a reason for it. Like Miro doesn't want to be on TV, but like Miro not being on TV it's been odd.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm thinking, how Tony Khan seems to hold off angles when they can't happen. Maybe maybe there was going to be a House of Black Miro angle, and because the House of Black wasn't on TV, neither was Miro.
True.
And maybe now that they're coming back, maybe he's going to come back too.
It's weird. Like I think Miro just enjoys what he gets. Like, I mean, when he was TNT champion, that was awesome. But he was an every week guy then, and now he doesn't have to be.
Right.
So, everyone's saying like maybe it's like, oh, Tony doesn't have book in. Like, I hate when people say that. Do you ever think that maybe he went to Tony and was like, hey man, I really like being here and being backstage and hanging out, but like let these other people work for a little bit. Like I have the Twitch thing going on. I have this. Like,
yeah, I do think there's zero chance that Miro works there and wants to wrestle, and Tony Khan is like, no, I'm not letting you. Like, why? Exactly. Why would you do that? Like, Miro is too like, and Tony Khan knows he's good. Like, it makes no sense to not use him unless there's a reason.
Yeah. So, like you said, he's either holding on to something, or maybe Miro's got another acting gig. Because that's where he was the last time, wasn't he? Making a movie?
Yeah, or maybe he has a gig coming up. He's like, I don't want to get hurt before this film. I'm filming in a month, and I don't want to get hurt before then. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's again the whole backstage situation that the internet talks about all the time is not real, because if it was, Tony Khan would have either killed himself or somebody by now, because nobody wants to work in an environment like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's not pandemonium and chaos at all times, because that's what WWE is/was, and there's people literally like used to work there talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, people that left AEW, for some reason it's hell, and then you leave and it was like, oh, it's the greatest place in the world.
Right.
Like, I don't know, everyone's talking.
So what do you think House of Black does then? I think it's going to be something with Miro.
I could see them going after the trios belts.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
But after you said the Miro thing, I totally forgot about that. That's kind of what they were in the middle of.
Yeah.
Whenever there was Malachi's friend had passed away and he was having a hard time, and then he asked for the time off. So
yeah,
that, I mean, either way, I mean, if you're going to go and continue that storyline, like, I'm okay with that.
Because when's the last time we saw Miro? He came out with Malachi's mask, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so I do feel like that's where they're going to go. I think they held Miro off because they wanted to continue that.
And I'm okay with that.
Now that Malachi's back, they can bring Miro back.
Oh my God, I just thought of something. What if the House of Black is now part of the Redeemer. They're reborn.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
And Malachi, like, I don't know, quote unquote, saw the light, or
And like he redeemed them. Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
yeah.
That would be cool.
Oh, that would be super cool. That would,
I
yeah.
like the House of Black, so I'm really excited for them to come
Yeah,
back.
I love the House of Black, and everything about them is great. But we had the main event of the night,
And
which
noted main eventer Brian Cage.
noted main eventer Brian Cage, which, as this is no BS, audience, as the night was going on, we're like, wow, it's 9 o'clock and there's only 2 matches left. And then at like 9:20, I was like, wait a minute, we forgot about Brian Cage, the main event.
Yes.
And you were like, oh wow, yeah, we did.
I think it's because I just couldn't picture Brian Cage main eventing a show. Like,
Right.
And it's not even a knock on Brian Cage as much as it is like Brian Cage's history of being in wrestling. It's
Yes.
weird. But imagine telling someone 6 months ago that on an episode of Dynamite, Colt Cabana is going to get a world title shot, Brian Cage in the main event, and Jeff Jarrett's going to show up.
I actually forgot about Jarrett already. Yeah. And whatever his first name, however that's pronounced, Shibata's going to show up too.
Right.
Like, just in case. Oh, and Rick Ross.
Yes. Yeah, Rick Ross is going to have one of the best segments.
Yeah. He's going to cut a promo that's going to be incredible. Yeah, that's all going to happen. We had Bobby Cruz as a ring announcer again. Obviously, Ian Riccoboni did not be on commentary because couldn't see.
Yes.
He no longer has glasses. It was a 50-50 match pretty much the whole way. I was very surprised.
Do you think it's time that we have to admit that Brian Cage might actually be good?
Yes, I think it is.
I think it's time.
Because he ruled last night. I
Yeah.
mean, that match was the match of the night in my opinion.
It was like midway through the last match he had with Wardlow where I'm like, actually Brian Cage is good.
Yeah.
And he is. Like, he's good.
Yeah. And I don't know what it was when he was with Team Taz. Like, he was awful. Like,
yeah, he was like very like wooden and stiff and like awkward before, but he seemed to like, I don't know, whatever it is now, he's like a lot less awkward and a lot less. He seems a lot more natural.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he had the talent. Maybe it was like maybe he wasn't comfortable around like the big time spotlight.
Right.
I don't know, but whatever it was, he got over that real quick. I'm just gonna say the 180 elbow drop he did was the coolest.
Yeah, that was great.
Thing. Yeah,
that was really cool.
I've never seen anyone do that. It was awesome.
No, it was cool.
They went about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was longer than I thought it was going to be. Even when it started, I was like, it's not going to go that long. I thought it would be like a 5-minute match, and then there's going to be some angle at the end. But no, it went longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, and there was a little shenanigans after.
Yes.
Joe did tap out Cage.
Yes.
Obviously, it was for the Ring of Honor television title. I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
We all knew Brian Cage wasn't going to win that.
Right.
Again, nothing against Brian Cage, but Joe is on the cover, or he's on the poster for the Ring of Honor pay-per-view in 2 months. So, but after the match, the Gates of Agony come in and attack Joe, and they're whooping Joe, which I always thought was weird that it took Wardlow like, I don't know, a solid 2 minutes to come out. Like, someone has your back. Your boy's getting beat up for 2 minutes.
I always think it's funny when someone runs in to save their friend, but they have theme music.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, oh no, my friend's getting beaten up. Okay, it's track 6. Make sure you hit that when I get, and then I'm going to do my entrance.
Yeah. Then the pyro has to hit when I'm halfway down the ramp.
That's right.
Look up.
I think it was last week. He still had the belt and he held it up first. I'm like, no, you just get to the ring.
Right.
And it's not a knock on Wardlow. It's a wrestling thing. Like, everyone knows.
Oh yeah, everybody knows it. Wardlow makes the save, and as Wardlow's in the process of making the save, Will freaking Hobbs
just
trucks Wardlow stands over him, picks up the right belt, which I thought was a good look from him because he almost picked up Joe's
Right.
belt. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, it was super cool of him to. I said super cool a lot today. I don't know why. That was really a good idea of him to like
Check the
flip the
belt.
belt
Yeah.
over, right? Because
Yeah.
he held up the. I mean, obviously you could have wrote that into a storyline and just gave Hobbs a match with Joe next week. I mean, totally could have just wrote it off, but
I think
he did check.
this is my little conspiracy theory. You didn't see Rampage, but the end of Rampage ended with Brian Cage and Hobbs attacking Word Joe, which is a terrible name for a team.
Yes.
And then Hobbs did the same thing. He held up the TNT title, and then Brian Cage saw the ROH TV title on the mat,
Yeah.
and you could see him thinking like, should I hold it up? I'm not sure.
Oh.
I feel like it wasn't in the script because he kind of looked at it and then like was holding it and then was like, all right, and then like held the and I feel like then they're like, okay, we'll book the match. Like,
there you go. Like, yeah, if it wasn't part of the show and then he did that Friday, well, it worked out fine.
yeah. It just looked like it to me. Like it could have been booked. I don't know.
Right.
But to just me watching it made me think Brian Cage was like, okay, I know that it's supposed to end with him holding up the TNT title, but there's another belt right there. Like it looks dumb if I don't hold it up, right? Like,
all in all, it was a solid show. We have
do you think Hobbs beats Wardlow for the belt?
If he does, they immediately have to put Wardlow into. He at least has to get a shot at either Mox or MJF. He has to.
I feel like Hobbs will because I think it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
I think Hobbs beats Wardlow, and then MJF is world champion.
Oh, and then that just sets that. There's a feud right there. Just
that sets it up, and then MJF can like screw his way out of that, and he's not going to lose the belt, but he can screw job his way out of a match with Wardlow or something, and I think that's where it goes.
Oh, that would be perfect. That would be very.
Because I mean, if you're right. Yeah. If Wardlow doesn't have the TNT title, and especially if MJF is champion, you have to have them.
Yeah,
you have to have the badge.
Yeah. So, if by that thought process, you are saying that MJF wins at Full Gear?
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, I think he does too.
My only question is whether or not it's a clean win and he turns face, or if he reaffirms himself being a heel.
I think no matter what he does, he's face.
Yeah,
in my opinion, he has that. He was away for what was that? Like a month-ish, like a few months.
Yeah,
whatever it was. Whatever.
Yeah, it was a few months.
Yeah, he came back and now he has that Austin. Like late 90s Austin, no matter what he does, he's going to get cheered for.
Yeah.
That's
what I really hope happens is he uses brass knucks to win the belt. And then when Regal criticizes for him, he can go, hey, first of all, you did the same thing all the time. and second of all, I actually won.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Cause then he could put it in Regal's face.
Right.
That would be awesome. I'll take that. And again, I don't think the crowd would care. Like everybody loves Mox, obviously, but everyone is ready for how they were ready for Hangman.
Yeah.
Like, it's time for somebody that is not a megastar already to have that.
Right. And I don't even think it matters. Not only do I not think it matters if MJF does, when people win their first world title, you kind of want them to win it clean most of the time. Yeah. Right. I don't think it matters if he wins it clean. Actually, I think it's better if he doesn't win it clean just because of his character. Like his whole character is like, cheap shots and cheating.
See, there you go. I never even thought about that. That does make perfect sense.
So it makes perfect sense for him to cheat.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And then we have do you think he loses the Dynamite Diamond Ring?
Yeah, whenever they do that. I don't remember when they do that, but it's Winter's Coming. It's winter's coming, right?
Yeah, we looked it up a couple weeks ago.
But yeah, I think he wins the world title and then just like doesn't win the diamond ring, but then it's like, I don't care, I don't need it anymore. Like, kind of pushes it off as like, I didn't want to win it anyway. Like,
right. See, I love the concept of the Dynamite diamond ring.
Yeah.
I just always thought it was dumb to give it to the same person every year. Like,
yeah, the only reason I could see them doing it is because when he doesn't win it, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and the fact that like a heel has only had it, like, give it to somebody who's not going to use it as a weapon. Like,
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know.
But like the build, we didn't even mention it. They also announced Jamie Hayter against Tony Storm for the interim
for the
women's title, which I mentioned it to you before. I love that Tony Storm has like a history with everybody. That like, oh, she had her first match with Sheeta, and no, she used to live with Jamie Hayter. Like they
right,
just, like...
right, because again, as we always talk about, AEW acknowledges history.
Yes,
WWE does not.
But how good is the build to Full Gear last year? And we'll probably do a Full Gear preview show.
Yeah, 100%.
But Full Gear last year was probably my favorite AEW show.
It was great last year.
And the build to Full Gear this year is excellent.
Yes. And we only know what, 2 things right now? 3?
Yeah, officially only 2 things. Yeah.
2 things. Yeah.
But the knock on All Out was it was a great show, but they didn't build, like the build wasn't great.
Right.
They had good matches, but they kind of just put them all together in the last 2 weeks. But the build to Full Gear, like they've only booked 2 matches, but you know what the rest of the matches are going to be just based on the feuds that are happening right now. So it's going to be good.
And there's going to have to be there's going to be a gimmick match at some point.
Right.
Like we're going to have a steel cage match at Full Gear or Iron
something.
Man match. Yeah, we're going to have something. And somebody we're going to have at Full Gear. And when it doesn't happen, we can come back and play this clip and laugh at me later. Eddie is going to come up with a program here. He needs something.
He does need something.
And him and Ortiz have been tagging on Elevation and Dark. I like the tag team. They've been doing very well. I think they're going to slowly maybe try to sneak them onto like the bigger shows here.
And they've been running Eddie's keeps almost getting disqualified because he goes a little bit too far every time.
He goes a little too far. Yeah. So I like that. I like that gimmick. I like that tag team. So I hope they do something. But I think Eddie gets something for Full Gear.
Yeah. And because ROH has a show in December, I feel like there might not be much ROH on Full Gear, which is perfectly fine. Like it's an AEW show.
Yeah.
So maybe I was thinking like the Jericho Claudio match would be on Full Gear, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's at the ROH show.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with them being literally like a month or a little less than a month apart.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
But great, wow, good Dynamite. Good. I mean, Dynamite wasn't. It didn't, like I said, it didn't have like the top, outstanding matches. Like Dynamite does have a lot. Like the Samoa Joe Brian Cage match might have been the best match, and it was fine, but it wasn't like.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't reinventing the wheel out there, but yeah.
But like for storyline and for build and for I love when I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
In wrestling, like when I don't know where they're going, and this had a lot of that.
It had a ton of that, and
like I don't know what's going to happen with Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what's going to happen with the House of Black. I don't know what's going to happen. Even the Colt Cabana stuff. Like where is that? Is that going anywhere? Like I like that I don't know all these things, and I think it's so fun. It's good, and the build for every show doesn't have to be 5-star matches.
Yep. Totally.
It has to, but this had a lot of good story. It had a lot of good build. It had a lot of good teases for the future, and I liked it.
I loved every second of it. It was all around good show. Do you have anything to add before we lock her up here?
No. We should ask the audience, the listeners.
Yeah.
Do you like us doing this on Thursdays and releasing it Fridays, or do you like us having it on Monday and releasing it on Tuesdays? What do you like? there's benefits to both. I mean, when we do it on Monday, we can talk about Rampage and Dynamite.
Right.
But when we do it today, Dynamite's newer. It just happened for us,
Yeah.
so it's a fresher show.
Yeah, let us know. Hit us up. We're on Twitter at Elite City Pod. Anytime, any questions you want to have or ask, let us know. Hit us up. We'll answer them.
Yes.
But again, let us know about what day you like the podcast coming out.
Maybe we'll do a poll.
Yeah, throw it up. And we have a new YouTube URL, but I don't know it, so I'm going to pass that on to you.
Yeah, it's Elite City Pod. They're all Elite City Pod now.
Oh, okay. It's not. They're all.
I made them all the same, so
Okay.
It's whatever service you're at / Elite City. I think YouTube you have to put an @ sign in. I think it's YouTube / Elite City Pod, but they're all the same.
Perfect. And our Twitter has our tree on the profile, so
yes,
all the links are there. Well, yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll go from there. And we're gonna pack up because we have Rampage tomorrow night. So, we'll probably we're gonna definitely do a show next week, but it just don't know what day it is, and we'll keep you posted. So, on that note, I'd like to thank everybody. Again, numbers are still going up, so thank you. This week's homework assignment: tell a friend. Let's try to double our numbers by the end of the year. Let's try to double these numbers. We have a month and a half, 2 months to do it. Let's try to do that. And until then, just take it easy, relax, and it's November. So welcome to the holiday season. We'll see you next week. How about that? Later.